Earth is a vast and mysterious place teeming with life. Millions of animal species, billions of people, but still full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Its dense jungles, uncharted depths, and shadowy corners hold mysteries beyond our imagination. Myths and legends across cultures whisper of monstrous beings, terrifying, insatiable creatures that lurk in a darkness eager to prey upon the unsuspecting. Hi, I'm Alina. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. One such figure is the Badb, a spectral phantom from Celtic folklore. Pale as death, her mouth smeared with blood, she is one of the three Morinya, along with the mighty Morrigan and the fierce Mecha. A forerunner of the Banshee, the Badb is an omen of war and chaos, haunting the battlefield with her bone-chilling shrieks, spurring warriors into battle while cursing their foes. More than just a specter, she has the unsettling ability to speak through the mouths of the dead and take the form of animals like crows, wolves, eels, and even cattle. Though she rarely joins the fight herself, her presence alone spells doom. Warriors who glimpse her know their fate is sealed. But even away from battle, the Badb's eerie influence lingers. She is said to appear by the river, silently washing the blood-soaked garments of those doomed to die. A silent, foreboding promise of the carnage to come. Would you dare to meet her gaze? Deep in the heart of the Amazon lurks a creature of myth and terror, the Yacu Mama, a monstrous water serpent said to stretch a staggering 50 meters or 165 feet long and 10 meters or 32 feet wide. Legends whisper that this behemoth slumbers in the hidden depths of lagoons and riverbeds, waiting for the unsuspecting to wander too close. Any man or beast who dares venture within 100 paces is doomed, pulled into the water and swallowed whole. To avoid this gruesome fate, hunters sound a horn before approaching the lagoon, hoping the mighty serpent will reveal itself. Only when the waters remain still do they move forward. But the Yacu Mama is more than just a beast. It is a force of nature, a spirit, perhaps even a demon. Among the Jibaro people who live near the realm of these colossal serpents, a venomous snake bite is not just a random misfortune. It is the work of black magic. In their eyes, a dry bite is nature's way, but when venom courses through a man's veins, something far more sinister is at play. Shesmu, the Egyptian god of the winepress, is a figure of both indulgence and terror. Unlike the traditional Sphinx, he is often portrayed in reverse, his powerful human body topped with the fierce head of a lion. While he is best known as a god of wine, his domain extends to other luxurious pressed substances, such as oils and perfumes. But don't be fooled by his association with fine offerings. Shesmu's generosity is reversed for souls journeying through the underworld, to whom he pours out wine with an almost unsettling hospitality. Beyond that, his true nature emerges, one drenched in blood and shadow. Known as the Lord of the Blood, he is no mere vintner. He's a butcher of the damned, working alongside Apep, the serpent god of chaos. In the darkest of myths, Shesmu doesn't just crush grapes, he crushes skulls. The heads of his enemies become fodder for his winepress, their lifeblood transformed into a gruesome vintage. Some tales even claim that Osiris himself entrusts him with this grim task, handing over the severed heads of fallen foes to be wrung dry. This chilling connection between wine and blood runs deep in Egyptian mythology, where drinking an enemy's essence is believed to grant their strength to the victor. With Shesmu, every sip is both a toast to triumph and terror. The Nalusa Falaya is one of the most chilling figures in Choctaw folklore, a shadowy, night-stalking entity, feared by hunters and travelers alike. Described as a shriveled, almost skeleton being with an unnervingly long nose and pointed ears, this sinister creature was said to prowl at twilight, using dark magic to ensnare its victims. According to legend, the Nalusa Falaya would call out to an unsuspecting hunter, luring him into its trap. The moment he turned to look, he would be struck by an overwhelming force, collapsing helplessly to the ground. In that moment of vulnerability, the creature would drive a thorn into its victim, an act far more insidious than it seemed. Those who had been pricked would unknowingly become vessels of evil, committing dark deeds without realizing they had been cursed. Only later, after their actions revealed their corruption, would they recognize the Nalusa Falaya's influence. Even more terrifying, the creature was said to have offspring, beings just as eerie as their parent. These unholy children were rumored to remove their own entrails at night, wander in the woods while carrying their organs in their hands, glowing with an otherworldly light. They were often spotted near swamps, leading some to believe they were the origin of the will-o-wisp legend. The Nalusa Falaya wasn't just a monster of the dark. It was a nightmare that crept into the minds and souls of those who crossed its path, twisting them into something unrecognizable. Also, if you are still watching, first of all, thank you for sticking around, and second of all, subscribe so you don't miss my next video. In the depth of the Middle Ages, a monstrous terror lurked in the waters of the Hun River in France, the Peluda. This was no ordinary dragon. Towering over the landscape, it was so massive that just stepping into a river could trigger devastating floods, wiping out farms and villages in an instant. But its appearance was even more bizarre. Unlike the smooth, gleaming scales of typical dragons, the Peluda's torso was covered in thick green fur, while its back bristled with razor-sharp quills. Like any self-respecting dragon, the Peluda could breathe fire and tear through the countryside with its enormous claws. It wasn't just a force of destruction, it was a nightmare brought to life. Legends even claim that this abomination refused to board Noah's Ark, yet somehow survived the Great Flood, resurfacing centuries later in medieval France, still very much alive and still very much in the business of killing. For years, the Peluda ravaged the land, feasting on livestock and unlucky humans. But its reign of terror took a personal turn when it devoured the fiancé of a determined local man. Enraged and desperate for revenge, he sought out the beast's weakness. He learned that despite its near invincibility, the Peluda had one fatal flaw: its tail. Armed with this knowledge, he faced the monster in battle, striking it down at its most vulnerable point. At last, the unrelenting beast fell, never to rise again. Deep within the swamps and waterways of West Africa lurks the elusive and deadly Ninki Nanka, a serpent-like beast that strikes fear into those who dare to seek it. Towering at 10 meters or 32 feet in length, this fearsome creature is said to be part basilisk, part Chinese dragon, and entirely lethal. One glance at it, according to legend, is enough to bring about certain death. Most of the time, the Ninki Nanka stays hidden, buried in the mud or lurking beneath the water surface, only emerging at night to hunt. Its glistening scales and massive horns add to its terrifying presence, but descriptions of the beast very wildly. Some claim it resembles a giant snake, while others insist it looks more like a dragon from another age. One particularly eerie encounter dates back to the 1930s, when a visiting explorer overheard local villagers whispering about a Ninki Nanka sighting the night before. Intrigued, he pressed them for details. To his astonishment, they pointed to a photograph of a dinosaur model from New York, claiming it looked exactly like the creature they had seen. And the most chilling part of the legend is that nearly everyone who lays eyes on a Ninki Nanka dies soon after. Yet one man allegedly lived to tell the tale, thanks to a powerful herbal remedy from a local healer. He claimed the monster was even larger than reported, stretching up to 50 meters or 165 feet, and that he had watched the beast in awe for nearly an hour. Whether it's a snake, a dragon, or something beyond human understanding, the Ninki Nanka remains a mystery, a legend that continues to haunt the waters of West Africa. In Brazilian folklore, few punishments are as brutal as the fate that befalls a woman who dares to engage with the priest. While the priest himself often walks away unscathed, the woman faces a horrifying transformation. Under the full moon's eerie glow, she morphs into the dreaded Mula-Sem-Cabeca, a headless mule with flaming breath and metallic hooves that shower the ground with sparks. This monstrous creature brays like a banshee, galloping through the night and spreading terror in its wake. Only at dawn does she revert to human form. The curse, however, isn't easily broken. One method is gruesome, beating the cursed mule until blood flows freely. The other method is the priest must perform a series of counter curses. If done successfully, the woman is freed, returning to her former self. But until then, she's doomed to live in fear of the moonrise, forever haunted by the consequences of her forbidden love. Deep within South African legend lurks the Tokoloshe, a sinister creature summoned by dark sorcery. Crafted through necromancy by a wicked sorcerer, the Tokoloshe serves as a loyal but utterly malevolent minion, carrying out whatever twisted tasks its master demands. Described as a short, corpse-like goblin with a hole in its skull and an obscenely large appendage, the Tokoloshe is said to possess horrifying abilities. It can turn invisible at will, either by swallowing a pebble or drinking water. Its touch is both toxic and unnaturally strong, and the worst part is that just seeing one brings misfortune. But speaking about it ensures certain doom. By that logic, we should know nothing about the Tokoloshe, and yet the legend persists. Could it be biding its time, watching, waiting, luring us into a false sense of security before striking? Known as the lightning bird, this supernatural being is no ordinary creature of the sky, more fittingly described as a lightning vampire. The Impundulu is an enormous mystical bird with the terrifying ability to summon lightning from its wings. But its most horrifying trait lies not in its elemental power, but in its thirst for human blood. Bound to the will of a powerful witch doctor, the Impundulu is a relentless enforcer of dark magic. Legends say it doesn't always remain in its avian form. Instead, it often takes on the guise of an irresistibly handsome young man. Women who fall for his charms soon discover the awful truth. He has no interest in love, only in drinking their blood or carrying out the deadly commands of his master. A creature that wields storms and seduces its victims before destroying them. Is there anything more terrifying? Some monsters are born from darkness, others from sheer evil. Malaysia's Orang Minyak, or Oily Man, is one of the most disturbing entities in Southeast Asian folklore, said to have been created in the 1960s through a horrific demonic pact. The tale begins with a man who longed for unlimited power and wealth, but refused to earn it. Instead, he made a deal with the devil. His desires would be granted, but the price was unthinkable. To seal the pact, he had to assault 21 virgins virgins in just 7 days. The horror didn't end there. His body became covered in sleek black oil, allowing him to slip away from capture, and his dark magic rendered him invisible to non-virgins. Panic spread like wildfire. Women slept in men's clothing, hoping to deceive the creature. Some believed that biting their left thumbs would protect them from his touch. The fear was so great that entire communities lived in terror of the shadowy figure lurking just beyond their doors. Even today, whispers of the Orang Minyak persist, with some claiming sightings of the sinister oil-slicked being. Is it just a ghost story? Or could this nightmare still be lurking in the darkness, waiting for its next victim? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!